So I really want to talk about the latest two chapters that came out for My Hero Academia, chapter 418 and 419. In case you all are unaware, basically what's happening in My Hero Academia is that we're at the final stretch. Long story short, we turned him into a baby and now he's dead. We did it. So all that's left is Deku versus Shigaraki. But of course Deku is still in this mindset of that he wants to save Shigaraki. So he's in his subconscious right now trying just to understand him and trying to reach his hand out to him. And that's where we are in chapter 418. We see a small Deku just looking at Shigaraki with his dog and just slowly everything crumbling apart. This was the catalyst. This was when everything started breaking down and really setting his villain origin story. But of course, Deku is too late because all he's doing is watching the memories and he can't really reach his hand out. But regardless, he still tries, and honestly, this hits really hard. I love the fact that he goes in and grabs his hands, knowing full well that he has his decay quirk. I was always a little on the fence of Deku because Shigaraki has killed a lot of people and caused a lot of destruction, but for some reason he's still I see the crying child, I want to save him, and I always kind of hated that. I think a lot of people did, but this chapter made me really fully want to lean into that whole idea of you know what? Maybe we can still try to save him, I guess, but I don't know, at the same time I feel like it would have been quicker just to get rid of him. But having Shigaraki say, who would I be able to explain why I was born this way? I chose to do that. I destroyed my house and my family of my own volition. Otherwise, why would I even have these hands? A lot of what makes Shigaraki is because of this quirk and what he was able to do with it. I love the fact that it's not just a simple, let me reach my hand out and let me talk to the villain and all of a sudden the talk no jutsu works and he's good now. No, Shigaraki knows fundamentally that he is meant to be this destroyer, this person who's causing nothing but problems because of this quirk. He was born this way, this is his role. And I think Deku is starting to fully understand that this is more than he bargained for because as he's trying to reach his hands out, he's ah shit, my hands are breaking, this is hurting. I could feel all of his hatred. And honestly, I didn't expect to work. I thought we actually had to end up killing Shigaraki at the end of the chapter, but no. Both just hold each other as the decay quirk kind of just goes behind him. It's such a cool shot. I love this. And Deku lost his arms. In the dream, of course, in this whole memory in subconscious, right? Right? We then get a small little memory snippet. I think this was meant to be Shigaraki in Deku's memories. He's hey Shigaraki, we should play now that we're all kids, and he's still no, I'm a villain, I'm evil, I destroy things, and it's god dang it, we were so close. Even if all my hatred went away and I turned into an empty shell, I'll still need to become a hero for those guys, the villains. This is honestly so powerful because the entirety of this final war arc that My Hero Academia has been trying to do for the longest time is that the villains aren't just villains. These are people who's had a rough life. These are people who are trying to make a change in their own way. Sure, some of them are criminals, but others are just trying to make a change. For example, Spinner, who took inspiration off of, what's his name? I forgot. The hero killer Stain, right? That was his name? And if Shigaraki backs down now, then what exactly does that make him? Once again, this emphasizes what he said before. He's already set himself into this role. So what now? Well, we get to the part I fucking hate the most. So this chapter is already about to end. So basically, as Shigaraki said that needs to be a hero for these people, we kind of cut to different people being do it, destroy the entire world, wipe it all out, do it, Shigaraki. We have people who are cheering for Shigaraki. But then we see this guy. It's very quickly established that this is not Deku's or Shigaraki's memories. This is someone else's memory. This is, well, I think you can assume. This is such a cool shot though, look at this. It's All For One's mouth just consuming Shigaraki as he's once again trying to take a hold of the vessel. And honestly, it's a cool shot. I like that he's coming back again, cause it's kind of cool that now that Shigaraki's kind of beaten down mentally and physically, All For One is I'm back baby. But no, I think we're all tired of All For One, honestly. Just let it be just Shigaraki be the final villain, please. But anyways, that's not the part I want to mostly complain about. What I want to complain about is, let's go through the chapter. So yeah, All For One kind of pops out and he's oh, you foolish vessel, this nobody of a boy has made you have a change of heart, how dare you? To this day, you've never made a single decision of your own. And at first I was oh, is All For One trying to say that he was you know, as a kid he manipulated him? Because we already knew that. But no, let's go to chapter 419. So All For One rises now that Shigaraki is weakened, mentally and physically. And he's oh, look at you, oh, you're so pitiful. You know, doing his weird shit. And he's basically saying, yeah, thanks Midoriya, because you've changed Tenko's unconscious mind, I've once again been able to regain control, which is bullshit, but I guess it's fine. And then we immediately jump into what I hate about this chapter. So as All For One is saying, I told you already, none of your decisions ever belong to you. And Shigaraki's but I chose to do this. If I didn't let you think you could ever attain the necessary willpower, it was essentially to travel backwards from free will. It was my two encounters with the two other previous wielders of One For All that taught me in order to secure One For All, I needed to surpass their willpower. Whilst being hounded by All Might, I searched for a soul that would whittle his willpower away. Then all I had to do was nurture the seed of hatred within it by suppressing the ID. I cultivated your most primitive desires. I did everything I could to avoid drawing attention to myself. All I had to do was give one last push. I stole the quirk factor from you, inherited from your parents before it could ever appear. I amplified my control, gave you an ambition. I then waited for the right moment. I selected a specific quirk from the doctor's facility, stripped the regeneration aspect, distilled it till nothing but destruction remained, and bestowed this crude copy to you. Yes, you heard that right. Basically, the chapters say, "It was me, Barry. I went back in past and killed your mother. I made you come at the single touch of a woman." I actually hate this with a passion. All for One not went back in time, but like, he basically planned the entirety of Shigaraki's life and made sure that he stole his quirk and he would end up with the K quirk. He purposely made sure that he went to a specific wielder's, like, child, did everything he did all of this. He planned all of this out. The entirety of My Hero Academia was planned out by All for One. And I hate that so fucking much. As I mentioned before, a lot of people are already complaining that All for One still isn't dead. And the fact that he was still kind of like around, I didn't mind too much. I kind of get why he's the quote-unquote endgame villain, because, you know, his whole point is that he wants to steal all the quirks and like, if everybody's super, then nobody, or whatever dumb thing he's doing. I hate the fact that here is All for One inserting himself into the conversation, and then here he's being like, "It was me, Shigaraki, I gave you this quirk," and it's like, what does this do? Like, what is the point of this twist? Like, don't get me wrong, when I first read this twist, I was shocked, but I was mostly like, are you fucking kidding me? This is so dumb. Please correct me if I'm wrong, but Shigaraki is meant to be the complete opposite or the foil to Izuku Midoriya. Deku never had a quirk, but then all of a sudden he meets the greatest hero in the world and he becomes the mentor and he gets one of the greatest quirks in the world, something completely unique and something amazing. Meanwhile, we have Shigaraki, who was born with this disgusting, like, horrible quirk that can cause tragedies, and then his mentor was the most evilest person of the entire world. Instead of him becoming the next generation, he was literally meant to become the vessel for the quote-unquote Demon King that All for One was trying to become. It also paralleled the story of like Deku always like loving quirks and wanting one and putting them up on a pedestal. These are two different people with two different lives. They couldn't be any more opposite, but I feel like the fact that like Shigaraki not having this quirk be his own, here comes All for One being like, "Oh, I'm gonna give you this quirk," I feel like that really ruins the whole kind of foil aspect of it. Because now it truly just becomes like, look, I'm the mastermind, you're just a puppet on strings. Like, I sort of get why it's being done. Like, it's meant to just show that Shigaraki was never fully in control, and it's meant that he's always been a victim because obviously, look at this man, he's a villain. He's always said multiple times he's a villain. But because we got All for One saying, "You never were in control," it shows us to be more sympathetic towards Shigaraki and be like, "Oh wow, he never meant to do any of this." But like, no, he did it. He did it. Like, yes, he wasn't given an option, but like, he was driven to this point. Like, I feel like that matters a little bit. It's still kind of unclear if purposely sought out the Shimura family for their child, or if he just happened to do it by chance. All for One is saying, "Their daughter was too well nurtured. I did everything I could to avoid drawing attention to myself. All I had to do was give one last push. I stole the quirk factor you inherited from your parents before it could appear." If I remember specifically back then, when All for One and All Might first fought, before All Might like retired as a hero, he specifically said, "Don't you know Shigaraki's the son of your precious mentor?" So I think it was premeditated. So yeah, All for One literally planned everything out, which is dumb. But anyways, let's continue the chapter. So yeah, obviously Shigaraki is mentally weakened, and All for One once again takes control of Shigaraki, because of fucking course he does. And Deku's just kicked out of his body, just Shigaraki standing there without his weird like fingers that's been covering him. But then very quickly, the hand, like one of his hands starts covering his mouth. He specifically says, "My medium-term plan failed." A lingering memory, and then the hand starts forming and it says silence. In the back of the words, there's just a bunch of A's behind the word, so I think that is Shigaraki trying to reach out. He goes on to say that it seems like the psychological damage is reflected on this body. Decay, the anger, the hatred, they're all gone. Did he die? Along with the vessel I searched so painstakingly for so many years, and my little brother too, nothing left but to move on to the next stage. And then Deku's there laying on the floor, I guess he's done napping. All for One then says, "Now begins the terribly empty and pointless final goal, world domination. Let's fucking go, King." Why? Like, what is the point anymore? Deku is still, of course, is like, "No, I won't let you," and oh my god. Oh my god. So, yeah, he actually lost his arms. Oh my god. You know, honestly, all of us were waiting for this to happen. Cause like, how many times was it teased where it's like, Deku, if you use your arm like this 2 or 3 more times, I fear that you won't be able to move them anymore. They're fucking gone now. We got our wish. I love how All For One is just there like, so both our bodies have been damaged. Just like, bitch, he lost his arm. What are you talking about? What have you lost? I love that we cut to a scene of like someone reaching out for Deku's hand, and then he's there with his nub, and then we go back to Deku like looking at his arm. If you remember, this was before the Vigilante arc. This is basically after he recovered after fighting Shigaraki. We were told that, oh, if he used his arms again like that, he wouldn't be able to move them, but all of a sudden he looked at him, he's like, oh, I've been able to move them. I don't know how or why. Regardless, Deku is like, not yet. I could still fight. It's not over yet. People will become stronger in the proportions in their loss. I plan to establish that narrative. This is the inevitable outcome for someone who never had anything to lose to begin with. Everyone is dead. Oh, Shigaraki's dead. Deku is gonna die. But whoa, Zero! Oh my god, it's the tape guy! I haven't seen him in like 400 chapters. This scene actually goes really hard. So basically everyone that was kind of left that hasn't gotten a character arc in this last final arc is coming to help Deku finish the job. And then my freaking boy, my man, Aizawa comes through the warp gate. You could see that he's still missing his leg, but oh my god, he's so cool. It's so funny because like I was so hyped at the end of the chapter when at the beginning I was like, what the fuck, this is so dumb. So what exactly does this mean? Yeah, I'm not sure if Shigaraki is ever gonna come back. I think he might. There might still be a chance. I think it's very clear what's going to happen now is that we're going to try to fight All For One again with the remaining kind of cast members that we have. And I think as far as I know, the decay quirk is gone because he basically says the anger, the hatred, they're all gone. Did he die? But at the same time, I don't think the decay quirk is gone per se because All For One still tries to reach his hand out to touch Deku to obviously do what? I don't remember how many quirks Shigaraki had before All For One took over. But yeah, I think what's going to happen is that they're going to whittle down All For One again, Shigaraki's going to come back, and we're going to be forced to kill him. He's like, hey, Deku, I need you to kill me because All For One's going to take over my body again. And that's going to be basically the end of the series. But yeah, I don't know, don't quote me on that. This chapter was both insane and really dumb. Let me know how you feel in the comments below. I really just wanted to kind of talk about how, like, the fact that All For One planned this out, it's just... I still don't know how to feel about it. I still think it's really dumb, but I don't know. Yeah, let me know in the comments below. Alright, goodbye. I'm done.